Very pleased to hear it. I'm a bit of a novice, but I'm doing my best to catch up on the gaps in my education.
By the time you read this, no, it's not that kind of video. By the time you read this, on Goodreads, it will say that I've read 1,500 books. So I thought I'd mark it by doing a video. Hello, everyone. 1,500 books according to Goodreads. When I started the Goodreads page, I tried to be like as honest as I could. I tried to remember all the books I read in the past, all the books I read for my degree, all the children's books I could remember, all the things I read when I was a teenager. I wanted to kind of put some meaning into it, so I tried to sort of mention every book I thought I'd read. So it's clearly not going to be massively accurate because I'm trying to remember 40 years of reading or whatever. So I'm aware that it's not absolutely accurate, but I tried to make it as accurate as I could. And it's quite an interesting journey using it to track your reading and see what you have been reading. And sometimes it can remind you of stuff when you do have a look at it and go, oh yeah, I was going to read this. And the want to read section is quite cool because sometimes I look at that before I go book shopping and stuff like that. 1,500 books. I thought it would be interesting to do a video on my Hall of Shame. My Hall of Shame. So this is kind of influenced by Moid from Media Death Cult, who did a video on his Hall of Shame. Because he's got such a huge amount of subscribers, often his videos are initiating a discussion. So his reviews, he often does another review afterwards, which is the comments, on his page. So his viewers' views and their reviews of the book he's already reviewed, and when he does his top tens and his top lists, he does another one of the reviewers' ideas. So that kind of what happened with the Hall of Shame thing. I think he was thinking of doing it to see what people thought and for people to come up with their Hall of Shame and that kind of thing. And this is ages ago he did it, but I thought it was quite a nice thing to mark for this moment where it's such a lovely round number on Goodreads. I mean, these are just numbers. It doesn't really matter whether it's 1,499 or 1,500 really, is it? But there we are. I thought it might be a nice excuse to talk about the Hall of Shame. So, because I mostly read science fiction, I'm choosing 5 books, and 4 of them are definitely science fiction classics that I haven't read, that I've since bought knowing I should read them, but I haven't got around to them yet. And one of them is a classic book that I know a lot about, but I want to read it. I want to read the literature version of it. So I'll talk about it at the end because it's not science fiction, but I am familiar with the story. But anyway, I'll go from ascending order. I'll go up to the most important ones. I'll start with something I don't know a lot about, but I know it's a classic and I feel like it's a Hall of Shame book, and that's Frederik Pohl's Gateway. So I don't know if you guys have read this. I haven't read anything by Frederik Pohl either, so I say that I haven't read any of his novels, but I have read a couple of his short stories in the past. But he's not someone who stood out for me, so this could be a gateway into Frederik Pohl. So we'll see. But yeah, have you read this? Is this really cool? This was something that I had in the back of my mind, and then I saw it secondhand, quite cheap, and I thought, well, I'll nab that. So this is there waiting for me to read. So I think this could be a favourite if it's as good as its reputation. Another one that I am shocked I haven't read yet, and I'm going to get to this one very soon, and that's Asimov's Irobot. So I've bought this specifically because I want to do a video on AI, and clearly it'll be a bit silly for me to do that without having read this. So there's a few other books I really like that include AI as principal characters, or the question of artificial intelligence as a plot device. So, I like the idea of it being used in science fiction, but this is like the big sort of granddaddy of it all. So I want to read this and put that in the mix of what I talk about. So I am going to read this one soon. I expect this, to be honest, has been put off by all these tags and challenges I keep doing on BookTube. But Isaac Asimov's Irobot is definitely in my Hall of Shame. I should have read this by now. I love the cover, actually. It's quite cool. And the feel of it's really nice. It's very, it's got a very nice feel. Another book which I have read a couple of books that have been compared to this, and it's seems to be, even though I've just said that, it seems to be quite a unique take on science fiction, but an absolute classic that people talk about a lot, and that's A Canticle for Leibowitz by Walter M. Miller. Another one that I feel should be put in a Hall of Shame, because I should have read this by now, but I'm a little bit nervous of it because I wouldn't like to not like it, and I'm not sure how much I will like it, but I do want to read it because I feel like I should read it. So, yeah, Canticle for Leibowitz is definitely one I'll get to soon, I think. Have you read this? Is it... I mean, I've seen this on some of the people I speak to on YouTube, some of their top books. I know that some people that may be watching this do definitely love it, which is cool. So, yeah. Sometimes I can be really pleasantly surprised when I read the classics and think, yeah, clearly it is classic. I know exactly why. And sometimes I read them and I go, oh, okay. I mean, I was very disappointed by Larry Niven's Ringworld. I didn't like that much. It was all right. I like some of the things about it. I like some of the bits in the concepts. The characters were really badly characterised, I thought, and there wasn't much of a plot. And yeah, I just very disappointed by Ringworld. And some people love that. So yeah, Canticle for Leibowitz. Another one, which, again, I haven't read anything by him at all, and he's one of the most important sort of pioneers of science fiction. Arthur C. Clarke, and probably the book I hear raved about the most by him, a classic first contact book, Rendezvous with Rama. I think I'm going to like this, but it could be a bit dry. I know when I was younger, really a lot younger, so I'm talking about when I was about 15, 16, I did try to read something from Asimov. It might have been short stories, I'm not sure, but I found them really dry. I don't think that's going to be the case now, because I read differently now. So that kind of era and those classic kind of Arthur C. Clarke, Asimov, Heinlein, those kind of people, although probably less Heinlein, but that writing style, I'm definitely much more open for that kind of writing style than I was when I was younger. So it's probably a good thing I'm reading this now rather than when I'm 15, 16. So we'll see what I think. But Rendezvous with Rama, have you read this? Is it as good as I imagine it's going to be? This was second-hand as well, wasn't it? Was it second-hand? Yeah, this was second-hand. And it just feels brand new. It's really, really mint condition. But I can tell from the price that it was and how it's written that this was Kim's Bookshop. Kim's Bookshop is amazing. If anyone lives in the south of England and should go to Chichester or Arundel to go to their shop, and you'll always find stuff, and you can find these SF Masterworks really cheap and pretty much brand new. So a very nice shiny version of Rendezvous with Rama. And that last book I talked about. So this is a book I know quite a lot about, but I haven't read it yet. I really want to read it because I absolutely love the other interactions I've had with the story. So the two ways I've interacted with the story is the film that was made from this, and I've seen it live as a play in London. So Ken Casey's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I really should have read this by now because I can't tell you how much I love the film. And when I saw it live in the theatre, it just blew me away. It's one of my favourite experiences I've ever had in a theatre. And I'm 99% certain I'm going to love this book, so I really should have read it by now. So a 60s classic, and the film I know has so much power to it. It's so emotionally draining. I mean, it's just such a beautiful and powerful emotional film. And when I saw it in London, the part of McMurphy, who's the main part that was played by Jack Nicholson in the film, that was played by Christian Slater. Christian Slater did a fantastic job, and ironically, like years before I saw him do this in the theatre, I knew he had a reputation for doing a great Jack Nicholson impression, just as a sort of like a party piece kind of thing. So I was kind of half expecting him to just do a Jack Nicholson impression in the theatre. He didn't. He made it his own, and he did a fantastic characterisation of the character McMurphy on the stage. And Mackenzie Crook was Billy, and that was a fantastic performance from him. And it's just loads and loads of reasons why that performance was amazing. So I'll never forget that, and I do really love the story. So yeah, should have read this by now. So that's a Hall of Shame book for me. So I'm just going to stick to 5 books because, to be honest, I'm not doing too bad with the books I feel like I should have read by now. I've done a lot of catching up over the last few years. And one of the good things about when I decided to get stuck in and read a lot, which was, I don't know, about 4 years ago, I guess, when I wanted to change my sort of habits and spend more time reading. It was a conscious decision because I felt like I was wasting time doing things like Red Dead Redemption, the Skyrim and stuff, and I just wanted to do less of that and do more reading. And obviously with the pandemic, I've done a lot more reading because the gigs slowed down as well. So there's various reasons why I've done a lot of catching up, and I feel like I have a very good understanding of some of the newer authors that have come out, as long as some classics I hadn't read. So yeah, those kind of things mean that I do feel like I've done quite a lot of catching up. So I'm not going to have this huge list of the Hall of Shame, but those are definitely 5 books that I can't wait to read. Some I've got more expectation of loving than others, but yeah, that's definitely going to be part of my TBR. The whole TBR thing can be a little bit stressful because you think, oh my God, I haven't read that yet, and I don't think you should wind yourself up over it. I mean, even when I'm doing these challenges, I'm sticking other things in the middle if I fancy reading that. So I'm just about to do that myself. So yeah, kind of a TBR, kind of a little focus on books I haven't read that I feel like I should have done. What do you think of those books? Have you read Frederick Pohl's Gateway? Have you read Irobot? Have you read Canticle for Leibowitz? Have you read Rendezvous with Rama? And have you read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? Let me know in the comments, because who knows, it might spur me on to choose a particular one first when I do get down to those 5 books. Hope you enjoyed the video. Tell me what your Hall of Shame books are. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Paint me a picture of what it's like to be you.